This is what an asshole from New England does. I mean, you feel good about being surrounded by some assholes here?
Well, they're massholes. I don't know what you are. You're some weird stepchild thing from Connecticut. You're like you're like the product of like a weird mixed marriage, right? Where it's like the stepfather.
Connecticut's the bullied little brother of New England.
Yeah,
we don't really take him seriously.
No, you don't. Ooh. No, because I mean, you did with the Whaler. You know, Hartford Whalers were here. Then you were like, oh, that's a legitimate brother, but now it's gone.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. My dad's from Massachusetts, Amin. So does that? Do I get a derivative like a generational masshole?
Well, in some religions, it only counts through the mother.
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't know. I might have to check that with the geography of everything. But we're real quick before we totally derail this. Where in Massachusetts is your dad from?
Cohasset.
Oh, that's South Shore. All right, good.
South Shore. By Hingham, Duxbury.
These are all, you guys might be making up words right now.
These are the first settlers came up with these names, literally like 300 years ago.
So Rich and I haven't met you, Nick Altschuller and Rich Levine, who just did an amazing podcast series for 30 for 30 ESPN podcast called Chasing Basketball Heaven. And I honestly, Rich, I already told you this. I feel so much shame right now because I didn't know who Martin Manley was. And I mean,
I'll tell you what, Tom, I felt bad up until I heard Daryl Morey to have to Google it. I was like, oh, fucking fine, man. If Daryl Morey doesn't know who he is, then I'm good, man.
That was a great moment in our story when we realized that Daryl Morey didn't even know this guy. Like, what are we even doing with ourselves? But
I mean, I have Bill James baseball abstracts here. I have been working in NBA analytics, basketball analytics. I would consider Kevin Pelton and Dean Oliver friends, close friends. I mean,
basketball on paper was the thing that literally got me work. Because my first basketball ops job, I was working for the Knicks. And I worked for the guy who's in charge of the salary cap, but the guy under him was a guy named Matt Simon. And Matt, the first day, hands me this book. He said, read this book. And I remember it was like, this is the 04-05 season, and the Suns were doing really well. And I said something like, yeah, but they're terrible defensively. And he said, are they? And then he introduced me to the idea of, and again, like there are going to be people listening to this like, oh, how do you guys didn't know? I'm telling you, like, it's recently as the mid 2000s, the concept of tempo-free stats was mind blowing. This was something that like shook people everywhere. But that was the thing. It was like, oh, wait, actually, they're like a middle of the road defense, and then rebound percent and all that stuff. Like that was the stuff I took, and I got my job with the Suns based on that. I was like, oh, I can do this, even though I didn't really want a full-time or a full career in analytics alone. I had interest in a lot of other things, but that was the stuff. So I knew that, and I knew Hollinger, and I read Pelton, I read everybody. I never heard of this guy.
You're not alone. It's funny, while we were at the Sloan conference talking to people, this is just a reminder of like how we're all going to disappear. But we were standing outside the Bill James ballroom and asking people at the Sloan conference, like, do you know who Bill James is? And they were like, nah, never heard of that person before. Yeah, like multiple people. Yes.
No, man.
So it happens to all of us.
All right, let me get that website ready.
Yeah, but again, no one knows him, but still, he was on inside the NBA at the 1989 All-Star game. He was literally on national TV, introduced as the Bill James of basketball. So he there's that little pocket of time. It's like a 3-minute snippet in the NBA history. But also, I think potentially that was the first time a math guy was on national TV talking about the NBA. I don't know for sure, but
we couldn't find evidence of otherwise.
And it was the only time, right? For a very long time, right? As you guys get into in this amazing series that I honestly, I also feel shame about this. I didn't know until Pablo had you guys on PTFO, and I was like, this couldn't be more up my alley. Think about that. If you want a visual, it couldn't be more up my alley, this show. And so I was very, very intrigued by the topic because Martin Manley is not only this huge figure in the whole story of NBA analytics and sabermetrics. But the way that he left us, and by left us, I mean he plotted his own death in a very strategic way and committed suicide in a way that he didn't broadcast it literally, but he wrote it out on his website and made it the most efficient death possible. And everything about this is true crime, NBA analytics. What a fascinating story. I mean, this guy, like even the Martin Manley, who he is.
Tom, listening to this podcast and how he lived his life and how he took his life, it reminded me of the one time I took Adderall because I wanted to sit down and like really focus on work. And while I was waiting for it to kick in, I was like, I want to get some lunch. I should get Chick-fil-A. And I was like, is it, is it cheaper to get a sandwich meal and the nuggets on the side, or a nuggets meal and a sandwich on the side? And then while I was doing that math, I was like, wait a second, with the delivery fee, the amount of time it's suggested, I'm better off going and picking it up rather than getting it delivered. And then I started calculating what routes, and I was like, oh shit, this is the Adderall. Instead of making me focus on my work, it just made me focus on lunch incredibly. But like, it's such an unmistakable feeling, that feeling of just seeing the world like that, like as a set of decisions. Everything is a decision and probabilities and this and that. And I'm listening to him talk, and even as he's talking about, or I guess in his words, but the voice of Craig Gilborn, just how I'm going to do this. What's the best way to do it? What's the not only the quickest and most painless way, but also the way that would have the least impact on the surrounding environment of people and stuff. And all those things, I'm like, that sounds like me on Adderall, man. Like,
that's how he saw his entire life. Yeah.
The tidiest death was a word that he used. That was just like his sister. And we talked to his sister a bunch for this show, and she said it was incredibly easy. Like, by the time I got back into his apartment, he had one room. His bed wasn't even there. He was sleeping on the floor the last couple of nights. There was nothing to do. Just to he had transferred everything. It was efficient.
The idea of like, I'm going to kill myself on this date because this gives enough time for the landlord to put it back on the market. Yeah. The 2 weeks
his license is going to expire. Everything. Yeah.
All that stuff. And also the idea that his I'm going to do it in the parking lot of a police station, so the person who finds me is most likely going to be someone who's equipped to find a dead body and not freak out. It was a fascinating, in a weird way, how he killed himself was a fascinating insight into just as how he saw life and how he went around. And I guess we should stop here and just, there's a bunch of people like, who the fuck are you guys talking about?
Right? This is who we're talking about, by the way. If you want to see it. You talk about a visual
watching on YouTube. It is a guy, a white dude who looks like almost like a chubby Pete Maravich, but he's got a mustache, a nice head of hair, amazing farmer's tan, sitting on a recliner with holding up basically his gooseneck.
What are now cool socks?
With what drink, guys?
Pepsi.
A large Pepsi. So, Martin Manley writes this book called Basketball Heaven, right? Way back.
Martin Manley's Basketball Heaven. Please.
Martin Manley's Basketball Heaven. Sorry.
That's important. Yeah. This is
in the 1980s, before there's any sort of, before basketball on paper, obviously, before the basketball prospectus, any of these things, right? In a time where accumulating stats is a hard thing, and in it he has like predictions and stuff. And one of the things, he is someone who is big on the 3-pointer. There should be more attempts to the threes or whatever. And he's kind of ahead of his time. And the guys pull up the clip of him being on Inside the NBA for All-Star Week in 1989. And Fred Hickman, is Fred Hickman still with us?
I passed while we were making the show, actually, sadly. Yeah.
All right. So the late Fred Hickman is like, this guy is the Bill James of basketball, which is incredible because Bill James, obviously the father of advanced analytics at baseball. But this guy basically is ahead of his time, but also a bit of a kook in many ways. And so the podcast does an incredible job of detailing his entire life. And as we said, his demise, his suicide, which is very, very well chronicled by him. He decided that he wanted everyone to remember him. So he made a blog and he has all sorts of information in there. Yeah, I want to start at the beginning, which is, how did you guys even discover this dude in order to say, I want to tell a story?
Yeah, I want to hear it. Like, you guys are buds, right? You guys are friends.
Worked together back in Boston, yeah.
Who told who about it? Like, who was the first one to mention it?
I was the teller in this case. Yeah. I was the one who connected with the suicidal sports writer.
You were like, hey.
Then it rang true for me too. And I was like, oh, yeah, there we go.
Yeah, no, okay. So 2013, bring ourselves back to 2013, covering the Celtics. Mm-hmm. This is, let's say, a couple months after the Boston Marathon bombing. Tough time in the city. As a Celtics writer, like my entire personality, existence is tied to the Celtics. At which point they trade Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, get rid of Doc Rivers, like rebuilding. You know, I feel like I'm irrelevant now till God knows when. And then August. So this was like a month after. It was August 15th, 2013. I saw a Deadspin tweet that said, "Sports writer kills himself, leaves website." So like I hopped on there and like didn't last very long. It was hitting a little too close to home, a little too quickly. I know if you go to the website and everyone can do it, it's a little bit of, I'm not going to give the URL on here. It's very confusing. It's like mirrors that exist now. The original site is not there. But like the first read is like, I'm Martin Manley. Today is my 60th birthday. Today is the last day of my life. And then goes into this like real time. And this was on the day, maybe the day after it happened. So I read for like a couple minutes and then just click away and put it deep somewhere for a little bit. And then like, honestly, so this is like like 9 years later, when Nick and I are looking for a show to do together, we have an idea. Hey, let's do a podcast. Everyone's got a podcast. Let's find a story and tell a great story. But in between that time, like every like maybe a couple times a year, like the idea of this sports writer who committed suicide and left the website would pop back into my mind. And at first, like I'd have to like Google it again to find who it was and the name. Finally, like, and I know the name Martin Manley. I'm reading more and more of this super in-depth. I mean, you guys have maybe checked it out. There's a lot about everything. But at some point, I get to the section where it says, in the mid 1980s, I wrote this book called Basketball Heaven that was endorsed by Bill James. I was on TNT at the NBA All-Star game. I'm like, holy shit. So like I went and found the book on eBay. One of them, started reading it. And then, you know, Nick and I were probably that's when we were talking about the ghost stories earlier. Nick and I probably spent the first month of our collaboration just finding old like haunted NBA stories that we could tell for like a 10 episode series. And then it was one of those times where Martin Manley randomly popped back into my head. I'm like, wait, this is it. And we had like our Seinfeld moment. Like, I think we got something here. Like I had like the pitch.
I sent the GIF immediately. Like, I think you might have something here.
Yeah. And then, so that was like May of 2022 when we had that first conversation about Martin. And then I think like, when did it come out? Summer of 2025. So like 3 years after that initial conversation, after many steps, we connected with Adam McKay at Hyperobject. We connected with 30 for 30 and ESPN and just became a reality. It's wild.
What a wild, like, think about that sentence. I got in touch with Adam McKay and then ESPN 30 for 30 to talk about a guy, like a guy that I feel like every NBA fan, and this is kind of the idea, is that we all should know who this guy is and we don't. And the story of why we don't is way beyond anything ever expected. Like what happened to this guy, right, Nick? Like, Nick, you're hearing this for the first time when? Like, Martin Manley's name pops in your ears when?
So it was May 2022.
So Rich had been sitting on this for years, just like not sitting on it that you had written about it or
just
anything.
Just with myself. What a horrible place to be with this kind of story. Yeah.
But so I think I was at that time. Were we out of the pandemic or just coming out of the pandemic?
It was, you're still wearing
masks.
We
were still wearing masks and like not allowed to like hang out that much. And like I had a few projects that had failed and I worked in journalism, and I was feeling like opposite of Martin. I was like born too late. Like the journalism's dying. There's no magazines anymore. Like, what am I supposed to do? 2 young kids at home. My dad just passed away. Like, I'm not in a good headspace. And he's like, hey, did I ever tell you about this guy that killed himself? And I'm like, that sounds very relatable. Let's look into that. Let's soak in that story for 3 years.
Yeah.
So it's great
Yeah.
to see 2 guys down in the dumps discover a guy who killed himself, and so he did what we did for a living.
Oh, he actually did it. Oh, okay.
Oh, and he left a manual. Like, here's how I did it, you know?
And couldn't have been happier. That's the thing. We talked to so many people, and it's hard because every time the suicide angle comes up, like, it's such a sensitive topic for obvious reasons. But when we talk to everyone that's close to Martin, they were happy for him, because when you read the site, like, this is what
his pastor was happy for him.
That was wild. That was wild. When you guys interviewed his pastor, and you said, like, and not to give too much away, and you should all listen to this, but you asked him, hey, so do you think he's in heaven?
Yeah.
And the pastor, I was like, oh,
Pastor didn't even hesitate. It's
Oh,
like,
yeah, for sure.
it's like it's taking the light you at, like, because you did the excellent thing of the back-to-back question. Is this a sin?
Mhm.
Oh, it's one of the worst. It's taking up a life. So you think he's in heaven right now? Oh yeah. Didn't even hesitate. Didn't even like, oh, I see what you're saying based on that first. No, it's just like 1, 2. It reminded me of the time my buddy asked an NBA player who had been railing against like analytics is bad, da 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 da, and like as he's saying this, my buddy said, hey, what do you think about the corner 3? And the player instantly said, oh man, it's so important. All our coaches do is tell us not to give up that 3, and we're trying to get as many of those 3s as possible. And it never clicks in his head. No, these 2 things are related. Back to back. And so I do want to go back to something that, when I was listening, I looked at, when did this book come out? It came out right before the 87 season. At that point, Rick Pitino had already been the coach of the Knicks, and he'd already started this whole, hey, I'd rather have a guy shoot 35% from 3 than 50% from the field. And so I was wondering, it's like, how much of Martin's idea, and obviously he's the first one to write about it, but how much of that was an original idea versus him being a basketball fan and maybe picking up on this and then kind of say, I'm going to commit
What
this
if
to
Pitino's Bambinos were because of Martin Manley? What if Rick Pitino read Martin Manley?
we can still ask him. Season 2, Nick, you got it? Got it in you?
We're responsible for what he did to the Celtics, or Martin is.
The thing about Martin is that, like, so Bill James, if Baseball Abstract never takes off, Bill James is still writing a Little Red blog somewhere about baseball, right? Like, that was what he was going to do. Martin was more like an opportunist who he did love basketball. He watched a lot. He saw Bill James' success. He saw that no one was doing that yet, and then he sort of transformed into that for a couple of years, which is another reason why I don't think it lasted. I think it was taking a lot for him to put on that mask and be the Bill James of basketball, when in reality he was just kind of weird Martin Manley,
He's a narcissist.
Without question. Yes.
All of this was always about, how can I be famous?
Well, he said it. It's not chasing. It's not basketball heaven. It's Martin Manley.
Martin Manley's basketball heaven. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
there's one thing.
Look who's on the fucking cover. Like, look at this. Like, this is only about him.
How much did you find out, like, how he came up with that cover?
We talked to the guy that worked with him. Speaking with the guy that worked with him, there are a few. There's like 6 things that aren't in the show that I want to tell everyone because they're crazy. But one of them is the guy that helped him, the guy that like typed everything into the computer. Martin's plan, maybe not from the very start, but very soon after, was like, I'm going to sell a bunch of these books. They're going to get famous. I'm going to go on TV. All that stuff happened. Then I'll go to Las Vegas and we'll use my super intelligent numbers to figure out the best bets to make and have like an 800 line. And then people can call and like bet through Martin. And like, we'll have like this huge gambling thing. Like, he wanted to be like Jimmy the Greek kind of, or something.
He was ahead of his time. And he also invented MySpace, that we think. But yeah, we'll get back to that part.
That's incredible. Hold on.
No, but we were talking to one of his buddies who was a guy. Is Millionaire Joe is this character. He's the guy who funded Basketball Heaven. It only exists because there's a buddy of his who's just that guy who just everything he touches turns to gold, except for Basketball Heaven apparently. But so Martin pitched him this idea, but at another point while they were working together, Martin pulled him into his office one day and said, "Hey, I want to show you this," and it must have been online, Nick, right? Or was it just like a page? He had basically built.
He had made it in Facebook himself and just like check it out. Yeah,
or like it was like one of the earliest websites, and it was just a profile of Martin Manley telling with pictures all his interests, and his buddy Joe was just like, "You need to delete this immediately. Like, we can't have anyone that knows you're associated with this business." He was like,
"Instead of a business card, I'll tell him to go to my website." And he was like, "That's people are going to think you're nuts. Don't do that."
That's why he's Millionaire Joe, not Billionaire Joe. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, another one of his inventions.
You got to find out that website, right? The original MySpace Martin Manley website.
I wonder if it is still around. Yeah.
Yeah.
What is the weirdest thing on his website that you guys came across? That I don't even know if you put it into the show that you were like, this is gotta be there.
Man, it's a long list. There are
He has a lot of pitches. Like he came up with the idea. Well, it's been a while since I've opened up this website. A little bit nervous. But he invented a machine. Basically, it's like a cat crate that simultaneously cleans your cats for you.
Seems kind of diabolical, but okay.
Yeah,
you put your.
It seems like toward the end, it sounds like, or it reads like he had it set in his heart, I'm going to kill myself in August, and he was kind of done with the suicide stuff in like May. So it was like, what else? I gotta keep writing. I got an idea for a cat litter box. I should have like on my suicide letter forever. I'll put that up there. Like he was just kind of running out the clock.
Yeah, the way I've compared is like, he's like on the phone, like you're talking like high school. You're talking to your girlfriend late at night. Like you don't want to hang up. In his head, it's like he knows like as soon as I hang up the call, like I'm done. Like So he was just finding things to talk about, like anything. Like the last section of his suicide website is called is fun facts. There's a section called cool stuff where he has anagrams like
couldn't be happier. Couldn't be happier.
Debit card.
Do you guys know a good anagram from mother-in-law?
No.
Woman Hitler.
No.
Okay. Yep. Yep.
I think my favorite one is there's a page of just other suicides, like other famous suicides, just in case you were wondering if Martin Manley was the first person.
Ranks. No, you also like where it ranks. You can
I'm not the only one who's done this, by the way.
He has a section of geography fun facts. Part of Minnesota is north of Maine. Part of Nebraska is north of a part of Canada. Reno, Nevada is west of Los Angeles. It's just like all these just random.
Do you think that this story, if you don't know anything about basketball, that you would enjoy this story? Because I think yes. Like I think it's an incredible story that you can even put aside the whole chasing basketball heaven part of it, and it still would be a really compelling story about it. What an incredible character he is.
But I mean, it's also a story of undiagnosed mental illness, right? Yeah. Like this guy's clearly, it's not just, he's not just, he's a little quirky or on the spectrum. Like these are all even when we talk about like how his marriages, how they came about and how they ended. These are not the behaviors of someone who is well.
What did they say? What did they say, Rich? And
well, so he didn't get married to his later. The second wife is the real, like, clear cut. It's a very stereotypical case where he just like love bombed, and she knew the whole time. She knew that something wasn't right, but she was fresh off a divorce, like had 2 kids, and he was coming in as sort of like this stable character, and then like honeymoon, like she says, like he went from tuxedo to sweatpants, like. Like
literally.
Yeah, and then like this is the wrong time. To tell you a little bit more about Martin, he was very into Y2K. So like during his second marriage, like at the beginning is when Y2K was about to happen. I think he spent a lot of time alone up on the computer. His third eye was open on that one. For sure.
Well, I'm gonna tell you the part where it's gonna sound ridiculous because I listened to the whole thing. I'm like, there's some people who just see the world differently, right? Maybe he's just a little different. He's a little off. When she said we couldn't go out to dinner because he was obsessed with finding out which local newscast was most accurate at doing the weather report. That's when I was like, this is someone who's unwell. That's not normal to and not obsessive over it from a
sounds like it's a you problem. I do this quite frequently.
Right? Like not for as a professional kind of endeavor, even though that I guess that's my weird capitalistic rotten brain, right? Thinking, if he was making money off of it, it'd be all right. But it really isn't all right. But it's just the recreation. It's not recreation. It is the compulsion that he has.
I think there is a lot of ego in there too, where I don't think, I'm sure part of him cared who was the most accurate, but I'm sure a larger part of him wanted to know so he could tell other people, like, don't trust the guy on Channel 7. You want Channel 6. Believe me, I have the data. Like that kind of thing.
Absolutely. And that's the part where I'm like, oh no, this is not.
Do we have this in the show? He made a bet at poker night. He bet a poker friend. They were talking about, I guess, thermodynamics or whatever, but he's like, he bet the other guy he could make a perpetual motion machine. And the next month he didn't show up because he hadn't done it yet. And then the next month he finally came back and gave the guy $100. He was like, all right, fine, I can't do it.
Well, he said he gave him $100. He said because then I'll never be able to bet anyone $100 for something again in my life if I don't give you this $100. So he was a man of honor in that respect. And with Martin, like every story with him, like there's some twist. Like he had a hole in one in golf. I never had a hole in one. I haven't played that much, but I've golfed a decent amount. But you look more into it, and he was using a 6-iron and 120-yard par 3. So it's like,
yeah. Until he solve that problem too? Was like, all right, what is the most likely hole to get a hole in one on? What club? And just solved the math on that.
What he did do is have a bright orange golf ball. So of course he had the bright ball that would be easier to see.
Mm-hmm. So you can only have all hours, right?
Yeah.
Well,
I can't remember what part you guys talk about where he conveniently leaves out.
Yeah, he does that a lot.
That was the Star Trek thing, Nick. Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
So he's a very mathematical person, a very logical person, but also extremely faith-based. So there's a give and take there.
Mm-hmm.
But that kind of translates toward, he will omit things if that doesn't fit a particular argument. Much like if you were to say something wrong about the Bible, someone could like, oh, you've never seen this other part, that kind of. So he could argue his way around whatever counter argument you have. He did that a lot, and I think the biggest case is the one we mentioned in the show. Where, well, there's a few, but the one we mentioned in the show is he writes about a particular episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation, and there's an episode where someone's culture, they want to they kill you at 60, and it's like the honorable way to go, and like how honorable that is. I'm like, oh, I wish we had that here, like, appreciating the logic of it. And then you watch the episode and the guy's like, no, actually, I don't want to kill myself. Like, this is terrible. I found someone I love. Please help. Like, and then the people on this planet are like, you have to. And they beam him down.
But it's
like a tragic
funny.
ending.
It's funny that not only does he omit that very, very seminal piece of information that changes the whole vibe of the episode, but also the whole thing is an exercise to prove to everybody else, look how far ahead Star Trek takes place in like the year 2300 or whatever. That's where my mind is at. You guys are still back here in the 21st century.
I'm 200 years ahead of my time.
Yeah, right. So it's all this kind of ego narcissism, but also like to a weird extent. By the way, our producer Anthony Mays has in the chat here some excerpts. I claim to have built the best playground for any homeowner in the entire state of Kansas. Apart from Michael Jackson's Neverland, I'm not sure who had one better. I could take this and give it to like the comedian Godfrey and say, do this in Trump's voice, and we wouldn't find anything amiss other than the part where he concedes that someone else has a better one. That's the only thing that Trump would just take it a step further, like, oh, no, I got the best one. But
so it's funny. One of the things that we came across in like our reporting of the story is like Martin's goal is like to live forever. That's kind of why he did this website. Like nothing else really worked in terms of building a legacy. Didn't have any children. Then we went back to Kansas and like the place where he passed away, like the tree with the basketball court, which was just like a beautiful place for a guy with Martin Manley's history to die, has been paved over and is now a parking lot. This playground that he built, and we asked his second wife about it, and she said for years and years, even after their kids were out of the house, the neighborhood kids would come and play on this. But she now has a fire pit back there. All this stuff, his legacy, and he was right. It all goes away. Somehow that website, that mirror, is still alive, and this podcast will hopefully stick around for a little bit too. So. That's nice.
You had another thing in there, the scavenger hunt, like the pot of gold that was hidden. So explain that, and where are we with that?
So with Nick and I, like I'm the believer, and Nick's always been I feel like more of the realist at certain parts of this.
I've flip flopped all over the place on this one.
So basically, Martin's big thing is I'm unique. Not only am I committing suicide in a unique way, I'm doing it in a way that no one else has ever done it, and I'm not like anyone else who commits suicide. So he goes through a list. I think it's 6 things. Here's the 6 most typical reasons why someone will commit suicide, whether it's like a loss that they can't handle, whatever. We don't need to go into it. But one of them is money issues. And he's saying, I'm financially as sound as you can be. Not only did I have this job for all these years, but in 1998, I bought, I think, $30,000 worth of gold, which is now worth over $200,000. And right underneath that in the website, there are coordinates. And the coordinates led to a little plot of land in the woods in the Overland Park Arboretum, which is right outside of Kansas City. So in real time, like back in 2013, when this website first went viral, people on Reddit were reading through it, and all of a sudden there's a treasure hunt. All these people coming from all over Kansas, and like I think Missouri, I know there were a few people. Anyway, people converging on this arboretum looking to dig up at the coordinates. And by the time they got there, the police were already ahead of the game. Said there's nothing to see here.
Yeah.
And we just never quite, we weren't sure.
During our research, there would be random things that would make us question. Like we talked to his sister, like, what's up with these coordinates? And she was like, well, that had to have been a typo. Well, that's how do you typo coordinates with like a picture next to it? You can't. That's not a typo. So we're like, okay, there has to be something here. And then
talking to his wife, to his second wife, we're like about the days before he passed.
This is done on the show, so we're breaking news here too.
Oh, right.
It's one of those things I always want to tell people.
Yeah, I mean, so he's like, he's like, yeah, Martin wanted to hang out the night before his birthday, which is when he died. I'm like, oh, what do you want to do? He wanted to take me to the Arboretum.
Yeah, and they went, and it was closed that day. But they were going to go for a walk in the Arboretum together.
So what kind of guy is Martin Manley? Is he the guy who leaves the world with this lame wild goose chase where nothing is there, just because he knows he's thinking ahead? And by the way, the only reason we did this podcast is because this treasure hunt was picked up nationally. I think that's what sort of motivated the Deadspin article. Like this, it didn't go viral to the next day, and it didn't go viral until Reddit discovered these coordinates. So either he's a genius, which he is, who knew this is what he needed. If all else fails, if I put out this website and no one pays attention, maybe this is going to be the tipping point. Or maybe he had this gold. We know he had the gold. That wasn't a lie. And we know he used to bury it in his backyard.
The purchase was made.
Yeah, and he used to have it buried in his backyard.
So if he goes to that extent, then yeah, this is real.
There is a spot, and if you listen to the podcast, you'll hear there is a spot that matches up with the coordinates that you look at and you're like, oh, that's a great hiding spot. I would hide something here. And so we're like, okay, maybe there's some, because one of the things, I'm loving this opportunity to like get this all off my chest.
All of it.
Yeah, no, this is what we're here for.
So, a lot of his loved ones got boxes the day he committed suicide with like special notes and trinkets and things. And pretty much everyone got like a porcelain ram And I was like, so there was one hanging from his sister's door, and then there was one in like one of his friends' houses. And I was like, what's up with the Rams? And no one knew, but everyone got one. And we asked his stepdaughter, and she's, he just loved Rams. And like, so you think of like this stubborn man liking, mountain rams or goats or whatever there. And so I'm like, maybe there was like a statue of a ram or something in that tree or something.
Maybe he didn't leave $200,000.
Like a
I don't think he left
Yeah.
gold coins, but something of himself that people would not understand, but maybe appreciate.
He proposed to his second wife with a crossword puzzle that he created. So he was really into these puzzles, into like, leading people on these adventures. So I don't know. Like we went to the site, we had a metal detector. We did that whole thing. Granted, this is 10 years later. So the latest on it is that we didn't find anything. No one has come forth yet and said, we were hoping that this podcast might bring someone out of the woodwork. Like, hey, by the way, I got that 10 years ago, because there are reasons not to report stumbling on $200,000, right?
It's like Westworld.
Yeah.
Remember Westworld? Like the whole, the maze, the center of the maze. There's got to be something in the center of the maze, and it's like, no, there's nothing there.
Yeah. So that is just the enigma that is Martin Manley in so many ways. Like, he's an anti-hero. He is just he's an American dream in a way. Again, the guy in 1985 sitting around watching basketball late at night, like, hey, I want to change the game. A year and a half later, he's on NBA, he's on TNT with Fred Hickman at All-Star Weekend.
He had the ego and brain to pull it off.
Yeah.
Nick, while I have the fish on the line, what else would you like to tell us that didn't make it in?
Those are some big ones. The wanting to take that was a cut where I was like, why are we cutting this? Like, he wanted to take his ex-wife on a walk through the park where the gold might have been.
Serial would have put that in there. Sarah Koenig would keep that in there for sure.
Because we didn't find the gold.
Yeah. If anyone's listening, I'm a great writer to work with. But that was the one time I was like putting up a fight.
That scene of them just going to the park together, like that visual, it's wow. Like the day before.
Tom, what do you think he's going to do? He's like, hey, something behind your ear. I was like, $30,000 worth of worth.
The thing about that last meeting, Martin, the last 6 years of his life, wore a fedora at all times.
Church didn't spend enough time on that.
But that last date with Terry, he did not wear his fedora.
You guys did not spend enough time on. You mentioned it, and I was like, huh? And then when I googled the pictures of him with the fedora, I was like,
it looked good on him.
My favorite part of the thing was Dean Oliver, and I won't give it away, but his appearance was an incredible twist in this whole thing.
It's not his appearance wasn't an incredible twist. His opinion.
Yes. I'm saying
because I expected, I'm like, okay, they talk to Kevin Pelton. They call their mom. Of course they're going to talk to. And should we not give it away? Like, how surprised were you guys that he was?
We had read all the basketball heavens at that point, and there, like the website, there's a lot of interesting stuff, insightful stuff, and there's some stuff where you're like, that's so dumb. Like, why would you have that in there? So there's you spend some time like, is this book good, or is this book like, is it bad, or am I crazy? What's going on? So Dean's opinion was kind of surprising given its place in history. Dean's opinion of Martin was not surprising. That was actually like very understandable.
Yes.
Yeah. Because we had seen part of the reason we got into touch with Dean, beyond the obvious that he's Dean Oliver, was that he had shared on Twitter a fax. I think it was a fax, maybe it was a letter that he had sent to Bill James. Because that's the thing. We haven't mentioned the fact that Bill James wrote the cover quote.
Yeah.
For Basketball Heaven, which is wild. And Dean was not very happy with the fact that Bill James would put his name.
Would endorse,
wild. And
that he would endorse such a thing.
You could feel it when Dean's talking about it, that it's like, it has irked him for a long time.
But also, Tom, it kind of set his ship a sail, right? Because
Oh yeah,
Rich, I'll let you.
Inspiration comes in many forms, right? Like,
yeah,
it's hate inspiration in this case, but like it worked.
What's interesting, so he gave Dean a little bit of a kick in the pants. Like, hey, if you think you can do better, try and do better.
Right.
And then I think we don't say this. Dean reached out later and was like, hey, I'm actually working on this book. Do you think you could like give me a couple pointers? And Bill
reached out to Martin. To Bill or to Martin?
To Bill. He had reached out to Martin previously, and Martin was like, good luck, pal. Like, I'm so far ahead of you. Like, go kick rocks. But then Bill was more polite. Bill was like, actually, I'm working on a basketball book myself, so I can't help you right now. But that never actually came out. So we broke into Bill's house looking for it. And I have the manuscript right here.
Yeah. Yeah, that I could feel it. How cool it was to be in the presence of Bill James. He's inviting you guys into his home. That must have been wild.
It exceeded all expectations. Just a very calm, wise man who gave us like a lot of time in the most polite, wonderful way.
Rich was like, "Do you have any life advice?" Like, what?
You nailed it.
It was good advice.
Yeah. No, that was so cool. I was so nervous, like even walking in there. I can't remember like the last time. Like we really built it up, you know. As when we started this process, we're like, this can only be so good if we don't get Bill. Like if we don't get Bill somehow to talk to us about this book and just analytics in general, like we will have failed this podcast. But like, so just nailing him and having him come through that way, it was unbelievable.
Go ahead. I mean,
no, I'm so, because you never get into the details of the actual book. It's the overall general concepts and thoughts, whatever. Was Martin, was the math high level? Because
for 1985 NBA, it was very high level.
But I'm like, I put it like this. We talk about sabermetrics. You got like Pythagorean win percentage in there, right? Like there's some stuff that's above, hey, 3 points is more than 2. And, you know, I'd rather shoot 35% from 3 than 50% from 2. I'm like, that is a advanced analytic compared to the standard of the day. Even stuff like rebound percentage, effective field goal percentage, they are more advanced ways of thinking about it. But the math itself is basic arithmetic. Was he doing anything greater than that?
The stat that sort of made Martin production rating, which became efficiency rating for the NBA when they adopted it. I'm an English major. I've never been good at math. I can do it. Give me a pen in 2 minutes and I can figure out someone's production rating. Like Hollinger's thing, I'd start crying. And they basically measure the same thing, but the variables and everything are exhaustively. Yeah, it's crazy.
And Hollinger's arrival at those weights comes from like regression analysis, and that's why I'm like, wait, like is this guy just adding and subtracting and.
But he was like Steve wasn't Jobs. Anything close to that at the time, and so it was revolutionary at the time. But your point is. But this is not high level math. AP stats here. Yeah.
Yes, what Bill did was revolutionary, and it wasn't. Hey, what if I think this is more than like? There's math. I guess is what I'm saying is I'm speaking again. My breakthrough, and I have people come up to me all the time like, oh, I want to do what you did. And I'm like, you can't, because when I came in, first of all, the available data was so limited, right? Way more than what Martin had available to him, but like just in terms of the data we have available now, it doesn't even hold a candle. And so everything you did had to go over basic box score stats and maybe some plus minus in there. But I was able, because I had an MBA, I'd done stats and all this stuff in school. I was able to do like logistic regressions and come up with all kind of metrics, and that blew everyone away. Like, oh my God, this guy's done this whole thing where it's based off of a win or a loss, and what are the stats that are most important to us because of our style of play. That was so revolutionary, but it existed at a time where, yes, mean with I can't even remember the name of the program. It's one of the basic one I had in college. Running some stats could give some mind-blowing information versus, again, while I was still working for the Suns, a few years later, we hired a Dr. Alardi and who's the other one? And Jeremiah, what's Jeremiah's last name? Engelman. Yep. And like they're doing actual fucking math, like the type that like, oh, you have to have a graduate degree in math to figure this out. Coming up.
Yeah, I equate it like, so there's a part where, Bill says, his advice is like, find out what other people don't know and, go with that. And I sort of equate it as like, I know math. I know how to do math. I know how to play basketball. Lots of people know how to play basketball. But the time you step on the court with like, I had like over the 20 years I played basketball, I had like two like next level, like, I don't know how they're doing this, point guards. We're like, oh, this is weird. This is like a whole different thing because they can see it all differently.
Nick is 6'6", by the
way. So I think Martin knew how to play basketball and Martin knew how to do math. But Bill, and then later, why am I blanking on his name? Dean was able to see a secondary layer. So Bill was like, actually, it doesn't matter what your batting average is. It matters like how many runs you score, how you get on base. And Dean was like, it doesn't matter. What matters is the pace, like how many possessions you have. And everyone's like, oh, you've seen this in an entirely new way. Teach us. And Martin did not achieve that level.
It was, I guess, to me, it's kind of like concepts versus an actual mathematic thing. And you're right. What Dean did, like most of what Dean's stuff isn't super advanced math either, but it is a conceptual thing. But I go back to Dean went to Caltech in an engineering degree. Like Bill James is an econ degree. This dude's a college dropout.
Was an English major.
Yeah, Martin was a two-time college dropout.
Yeah.
I thought Bill was an econ guy.
I'm sure he has a lot of that too.
If he's an English major, that's got to be the smartest goddamn English major ever.
Yep. Yeah. Well,
he must have been because he was working as a security guard in a baked beans factory, and that's what English majors do. I should know.
So Maze is also chiming in that I'm trying to do a Craig Kilborn as Martin Manley. My motto is 90% of the value for 10% of the work.
Exactly. That's it.
I felt like the stepdaughter was an amazing interview for you guys, and it really changed the story because it seemed like he miscalculated his death in this sense, is that he didn't realize, oh, this is actually not a clean death with my stepdaughter. And that introduction into the story I thought was one of the most tender, like emotional parts of this thread of this story. Rich, Nick, when you stumbled upon the stepdaughter, how did you think that this story was going to go? And did she change the story arc for you guys?
It's interesting. I'm trying to remember because we were very close with her mom first for a while, and then like anytime we were around, like stepdaughters or her daughters are off living their lives and weren't always around at mom's house, like on a random week in November or whatever. So we missed them, and then we kind of. Again, Martin, he doesn't in the site. He talks a lot about a lot of people in his life and doesn't really go into too much detail about these two stepdaughters. And then at one point, Terry, who's his Martin's second wife, was just like, "Yeah, I think the girls will be around this next time. We know you'll be in Kansas if you're interested." And I don't even think, Nick, we knew that she was nervous to talk to us, which is very understandable. And she didn't know that we were doing it for ESPN.
We had zero idea that Martin had the impact that he did on her life. Like as much as I describe Martin as someone like your buddy that like you give a hug, but then as you're backing out of the hug, you also kind of like choke him a little bit. Like he's that kind of friend. Like but like his first wife, his stepdaughter, like loved him deeply. When you think about, the way he looked at the logic of life, which there isn't really, but omitting variables, I think his imperative to have a clean death did not allow him to see that there would be loose ends. He would just ignore them. Like, I think his stepdaughter is a bit of a loose end that he chose not to see. And like Rich reached out to, or did he reach out to Rich? That's hard to say. The 911 operator that received Martin's call, like his whole thing was, I want professionals to do it because they're not going to be harmed by it. Mm-hmm. The 911 operator told Rich, like, that thing messed me up. We never heard the call, but he's like, I still remember it 10 years later. That was a terrible call.
Really?
Well, there are all sorts of 911 calls you get, right? And this one, you picked up the phone and it's someone, I'd like to report a death in the parking lot, like bang. Like, you know, It wasn't like brace yourself or anything like that. It was, I forget, it was on Reddit.
Because of how ordinary it was. It was just creepy that it was so ordinary.
If I remember, he like lives in Germany now or something, and he spoke on Reddit, and he was like, yeah, I remember it was terrible. You know, that might be part of the reason he doesn't do it anymore.
They wouldn't release the 911 call to you guys. Did they give a reason why?
They listed it as an open case, which gave them like a loophole to deny. But at the end of the day, I think we talked to like the deputy commissioner. They just thought it was too brutal of an audio. You know what I mean? They just thought they didn't want too sensitive, essentially, is what it came down to. And I think we could have gotten a court order and probably gotten it, but at that point it was like going to cost a lot of money, and it was just, you know, it's part of, we didn't know, like it would tell us so much to hear what his voice was like in that moment. So it was disappointing, and we were like, oh, can we come in and just listen to it? And that just wasn't going to happen.
The voicemail you got is that from the stepdaughter's phone. That was
the night before.
Yeah.
By the way, I love you. Is that what it is? By the way, or like,
oh yeah. By the way, I love you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
like
he
with no
write
emotion.
little I love you notes. Like it's just, how did he not see this? Like, how did he?
But at the same time, she told us, and I think we had this in there, that he used to, like, in that last year, she was working at a winery, which was like an hour away from his house, and he would randomly just like pop in. And she'd be like, I knew that he had no business being there. He didn't drink. He didn't whatever. And this was already while he was planning. So I think deep down, he knew. But
he just chose not to see. You know?
Yeah.
He chose to ignore that variable that would complicate his plan.
Where are we on the Haunted Basketball podcast?
Well, we got some insights this morning before we started recording. Yeah.
I'll sell it to you.
Skirvin? Yeah.
The Skirvin, the Fister. There's one in San Diego, the Coronado. I've stayed there as well.
What's with Milwaukee and Fist? You know, like
it's spelled with a P. It's to be fair. Fair, it's Fister with a P. So,
okay.
What kind of podcast is this? What's going on?
It's just, you know, sorry.
That's the third eye. Yeah,
that's the third eye.
It's a whispering eye.
Speaking of third eye, I think Jaylen Brown is on a fourth dimension right now.
You want to sneak in some Jaylen Brown talk? Is what you?
I was there at that game into it. 50 points. Yeah. I have never. It wasn't. I mean, he was making hard shots look easy, but he was like floating. There's something going on. I think it's a fourth.
Okay.
Do you guys remember LeVar Postel?
Yes.
St. John's?
LeVar Postel, St. John's. LeVar Postel played for the Knicks, and he's a shooting guard, and he was playing for the Knicks when the Knicks had Allen Houston and Latrell Sprewell. So basically, zero playing time available. But LeVar Postel used to tell everybody and anybody who would listen, I'm awesome. They need to, they're hating by not giving me an opportunity. Da, da, da. He was this guy, but it was somehow endearing enough where they kind of just left him around or whatever. So it's toward the end of the season, the Knicks are getting ready for a postseason run. And it's one of those games where like, hey, we're going to sit everybody. And LeVar Postel got to start. And they played the Pistons, and the Pistons were really good at this point. This is the Ben Wallace Pistons. Rasheed Wallace isn't there yet, but Ben Wallace, Chauncey Billups, Tayshaun, whatever. LeVar Postel gets his first start. He scores 20 points in that game against like one of the best defenses. And the beat writers say like after the game, he just had his locker room like, Told y'all. And Jaylen Brown this whole season just reminded me of LeVar Ball. Like for years, like, hey, I'm a franchise player. And then next thing you know,
Oh yeah,
he's scoring 50 and the Celtics are second in the East.
Told y'all. Yeah.
Told y'all.
and then he was cut next season. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
The good times. All right. Well, Tom had to run, but guys, we really appreciate it. This was a great conversation. It was a great listen. It starts with the 30 for 30 executive editor saying, nothing could have prepared me with what direction. I was like, yeah, that's what everyone does. Like, sure. And then I think right around, I was like, he had to stay home for the weather reports. I was like, all right, you guys win. I lost that bet. Here you
guys
go.
asked earlier about like any emails or whatever we've gotten either say like, I came because I'm a basketball fan, but then I stayed because it was crazy. Or it's like, I'm not even a basketball fan, but I loved it. Like basketball is just an entry point if you need it, but it's a good story, hopefully.
Well, there have been a few. I was told this is about the 3-point shot and I was lied to. And I hate you guys.
Well, I want to say one thing. You guys have given voice to something I said for years, which is whenever people go back and look at the guys in the 80s, like, oh man, look, it could survive today. He shot 12% from three. I'm like, you got to understand, there's a whole generation of NBA players. They literally had never seen a 3-point line until they got to the NBA because it did exist in the high school level and it doesn't exist at the collegiate level. So why would you ever consider this shot? Number one. Number two, all the coaching, and Nick, I think you and I are the same age. All the coaching well into we're adults was that's a bad shot. They used to teach us, you're at the 3-point line, someone closes out hot, you pump fake and you take that one dribble in to take, and I quote, the high percentage shot.
Yes.
You used to call that the high percentage shot. You go back and listen to Hubie Brown and all those guys, the high percentage shot. And it's like, if you've never seen this thing until you got here, and when you got there, 90% of the coaches are telling, don't even bother with that thing. Why would anyone be good at it? And what you guys were able to do was get to the answer of why would anyone be good at it. In the case of Brian Taylor, it's because figured out it made life easier for Dr. J. In the case of Dale Ellis, that's the only way I could beat Derek Harper in one-on-one. That's a fucking insane.
Because of the hand check.
Right. But a hand check, but like when you said Derek Harper, before you even said anything, I said, oh, Derek Harper. Every time I hear Derek Harper, I always remember when the first time they introduced the hand check rules was before the 94-95 season. The league does this every year. The refs, someone from the referees department will do the tour to all the training camps and all the teams, and they'll show you tape of this is the rule. This is illegal. This is legal. And the first clip on the teaching tape of the first time they had hand checking rules it was all Derek Harper.
Yeah.
All Derek Harper. They're like, you can't do any of this anymore.
Wow. Was that him on the Knicks against MJ? Was that probably like the clip?
It was him on the Knicks, like from the playoffs when they lost in the finals. So it was like stuff from the finals, stuff
Kenny
from
Smith or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Kenny Smith, stuff with Mark Jackson in the conference finals. It was all that stuff. Maybe there was no MJ that year, but maybe some Bull stuff because they did play the Bulls. But it was literally just Derek Harper defense. You can't do any of this anymore. So like, but that is such an insane, like, you want to talk about serendipity. You want to talk about just like a trifle or the butterfly effect or whatever. The idea that a guy playing one-on-one against his own teammate would force him to just in a sheer act of survival in stakes that don't matter. The coaches don't care who's winning one-on-one in practice, but because he does it and it works, he's like, let me try doing this in a game. And you go from 7 to whatever, 25 points a game.
I've never done it. I would be interested. You have a bigger forum than us. Ask the average NBA fan, how many threes did they take per game in like 1985?
Oh, yeah. This is Dan Le Batard loves this one.
Oh, he does? Okay.
He actually uses the exact example.
2 threes.
Yeah, the exact example you guys made, which is like the 84 finals. They took like 43s. combined or whatever it was. And it's like, yeah, what's his name? Took that in a week. So and I'm sad that Tom's not here because Tom was the one I remember when we were at .com on Insider. Tom wrote a story about how Steph Curry is actually not shooting enough threes. He needs to take 10 threes a game. And I was like, you're out of your fucking mind, Tom. 10 3-pointers a game. What do you think this is? A carnival ride? Da, da, da. It was like, this was right up there with the 4-point play article that he wrote. And before either of us had left ESPN, which wasn't that long, Steph Curry was shooting 10 threes a game. It was incredible. It's crazy.
Which was probably, by the way, just to bring us full circle, that year, I don't know if it met, but it's probably like the year after Martin passed away. Like he left. We talk about someone having some unlucky timing and being born too early. He also went out just before this stuff was about to take off. And
before Steph really took off. 2013, August 2013. So he lived long enough to see Steph Curry score 23 points a game on 7.7 3-point attempts a game.
Wow.
That led the league. Steph Curry made 3.5 threes a game that year, which means he made more than most NBA teams took.
Yep.
Oh, man. All right. Good times. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks very much.
Later, guys. This is great.